this is the final part of our filtering macro series. In this final macro, we shall modify the code so that the report is created on values which are selected from the drop down list. Let's say instead of fixed north, we would like to create a report on east. So how do we do that? So there is nothing special or further recording of the macro. We shall modify the existing code and make the fixed value of north to some sales value. So if you remember, the sales are referenced in Visual Basics like this. So if I want to access the value of this specific cell, that is east, it is in J2, but in Visual Basic we will access the value using the row and column indexes. So this is row number 2 in column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this specific cell, the value of this cell in Visual Basics can be accessed like this: sales, and then row 2, and what was the column number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is column number 10. So 210, this is the cell reference, and then we want to get the value of this cell reference. So it will be like this. So sales 210.value will be the specific cell reference. Now, if I go to my macro code and I go to I want to view the code of Mac report macro, I'll click edit, and this is the full code of what we have done so far. In here, let me copy this text to some other editor. I have already done that. Now we can clearly see the code here. So this is the code for filtering the data, and on this specific range A1 to G923, we are filtering the data on field 3, that is column number 3, and the criteria is south. Now instead of providing this fixed value of south, we will provide cell value. So here I'm adding some additional code to get the cell value of where the criteria is located. So I will say let's call it value, simple. Value is equal to, and then the cell reference cells it is 2, I think 2 was the row number, 10 was the column number, and dot value. Okay, this is the variable value. You can give it any name. So if I say instead of value, I can call it criteria. So copy this specific variable, and since south was a string, it was wrapped up into double quotes. Since I have made this variable in Visual Basic equal to criteria, or whatever variable name you had given, I do not need to close it in double quotes, because now it is a Visual Basic variable. We have defined the variable here. So if I close it in double quotes, it will render the variable as string. So I do not want the variable to be stored as a string. Rather, it is a Visual Basic variable, therefore it has to be without double quotes. So this is the modification that we made to the code. We just obtained the value of the cell where the criteria is located, and we call this variable as criteria. You can call it filter criteria, you can call it value, you can call it X or Z, whatever name you want to give it to it. But remember, once you have given the you have assigned the variable will exist. It will be written without double quotes here. So now I'm copy, our code is ready. So I'm copying it to my Visual Basic. If you are working inside the Visual Basic, so there is no copy pasting on your side, but since I copied the text from Visual Basic to Notepad, this is why I copied it back. So, and instead of create report, I'll assign a macro of call all, which we created in the previous video. So I'm calling this macro, which actually calls the make report and remove filter. And in the call all, I'll also make sure that first of all the contents, any previous contents, are removed from this sheet. So since we already have contents before creating a new report, I'll make sure that any contents here are actually removed. So for that, we have already recorded a macro. We just need to call it. So let's go back to call all macro, edit, and at the start I'll call another macro. Let's say call clear contents. This is the macro which we have already recorded. Okay, it says the code is incomplete, but that's okay at the moment. Once we copy the code here, it will be completed. So the call all macro actually performs 3 tasks. It clears contents from sheet report, but again, this macro does not specify which cells to be selected. So I'm adding, again, to make sure that the appropriate sheet is selected, I'm adding this code sheets, double quotes, the sheet name is report, double quotes, dot select. Now it is foolproof. Each time this code is run, it will not apply to the current sheet. Instead, it will first of all select the report sheet which we want to, and then it will select all cells, then it will delete all cells, and it will come back to range A2. So call all macro is now ready. We clear the contents from the report sheet. We make a report, filter the contents, copy it to the report sheet, and then we remove filter from the data from the sheet 1. So it's now all ready. Let's add some colors, some formatting, and I think it's good to go. Now we want to create a report on East. Make a report. Yes, it is now here. And let's create a report on another report on West. So what once I click this button, what it will do, first of all, it will clear all these contents, copy the data from here, and remove filter from here. So create a report. So again, it removed the content from there and create a report on West. What one small line of code what we can do is to add another button so that we can go from this sheet to to sheet number 1. So I'm going to create a button, shapes, this button, and here I'm adding go to data. Since we don't have the macro as yet, I'm going to create a one-liner code in the macro, developer tab, Visual Basic, and adding a macro. Let's call it sub go to sheet 1 with no spaces, bracket open close enter, and just one line of code that will be sheets sheet 1 dot select, and that's all. So this macro will select sheet number 1. Okay, assign the macro to this button, assign macro, and where is go to sheet 1? Yes, this is our macro. Good. So we go back to sheet 1, we make a report, and there is one problem. The problem is when we come back to this sheet, it clears the contents including the sheet 1 macro. So when you are clearing the contents, you can actually select the range. You say that clear contents from here, not from the whole sheet, and this will not delete the button that we created just now. The macro is there, but the button was removed because when the previous macro was clear the content. So the go to sheet macro is still there. So if I go, we could come back to here. So that's all from for today. Let's have a good practice on this, and if there is any problem, let me know. Thank you.